Hey everybody. So yeah, if you've been watching at all, like basically I've said that there's kind of like two things that I want to be able to that from time to time I just want to check in and make sure I can do or do the best I can at it. And one of them is an eclipse, and the other is a countdown. And so countdowns are now a lot easier with text, right? So there's three, two, and one, nice and easy. Um, and that's how things are in technology. Usually, it's pretty damn easy or damn near impossible. Impossible. And it's just the way you set things up. Um, but yeah, so that's that. The thing I need to work on next, and we've been a bit spoiled over the last couple weeks because anytime I've been spoiled because anytime I wanted to do anything, I could do it in one session. This The next thing is not something I can do in one session. It's definitely bigger, and I've been putting a lot of thought into it, and there's been a lot of dread because the way you would do this in this sort of project, a hobby project, is so dramatically different than the way you would do it in a professional environment, and especially in like a huge enterprise sort of environment. And the reason is because okay, so what I'm trying to do is I want to make this font selectable. So right now the font is we have one font and only one font. Go to definition, and it's basically this Helvetica promise, right? We only have the one font, and that's great. But the problem is it gets loaded asynchronously. Uh, so there's a request, the application builds out, and then there's a request for the font, and then it gets loaded. And the timing of that is not in sync with the timing for the rest of the code. So we did a bunch of code. I did a bunch of code to make that work, but now I want to have multiple fonts and I want to be able to select them. And for me, what that means is like it's pretty interesting. Like what I want to do is I want to basically create a promise for every font I want, and then there's like a thing called promise all, and I could probably just use that. I give it an array of those promises, and then when they're all back, I'll just block everything, any text stuff until they're all loaded. Which like that's a race, right? There's a race. There's a race between when the user clicks in here, creates a mesh, and selects a text mesh, and then will the fonts exist? And undoubtedly on this local build, yes, it will be there. It will very, very, very like 99.999% of the time be available there. A user won't be able to click through fast enough to try to load it before um, in it, like even in a remote where I pushed it out and now I'm waiting for it to come. And the reason is because these files are part of this build. So it's going to be a, a similar performance of the page loading in general. So by the time the user gets there, it's going to be loaded. So I can just do that, and that's simple. And this is a hobbyist type thing. It's not going to be. It's going to be simple, not trivial or not easy to understand, but it's going to be simple to do. But in an enterprise environment, it's not going to be that way. You are, it's invariably, even if you don't start off, you will end up on all your static files being on their own server, not in the build. So that means you won't be able to guarantee what files will exist out there and what if they'll exist and all that. And this gets insanely political because basically like they're gonna roll out the application and they're gonna be like, it's broken, and and if you haven't handled it in a very elegant way, you know, you're not going to be there to defend yourself. So the ops person will be there. You'll probably have like a manager representing you, and that manager is probably like, let's say you're a contractor, like you're a contractor, then you got your regular devs, and then you've got your lead, and then you've got your manager. So you're like four layers down um, on what's broken, so you're not going to be able to defend yourself at all. So you better have this built out in a way that's very elegant, that works. I mean, that sort of indicates what's wrong. And so, because what's wrong is, in all likelihood, they haven't built out and updated the static server. And they're going to want to have things on static servers. There's a lot of reasons. There's security reasons. A static server usually typically doesn't have access to databases and other things like that. So that's a lot safer. Uh, a static server usually won't execute code. So that's what makes it a lot safer. And they can make the static server a lot faster. They can tune it for speed. So there's a lot of performance and security reasons why it's going to be in a static server. Then there's going to be you're probably going to have different versions. You're going to have your staging version, your QA version, your dev version, your production version, your pre-prod version. You have all these versions of your static server, and they aren't always going to be consistent. So you're probably going to want to have a drop down of fonts that are based on the fonts that are available. Whereas I'm just going to have a drop down that has all the fonts. Yeah. So what I'm going to build is not going to match up at all, even close to what you're going to want to build in a production in an enterprise environment. And so this is good for you to learn this way because it kind of breaks down things into like under like a smaller set of understandable bits. But it's not going to be good. It's not going to even come close to the solution that you're going to have to produce, that you're going to have to create in a production environment. And I can't even like really emulate that because every production environment's different. So who knows? There's no telling what you're going to have to do. You're just going to have to really be a master of it and really understand what's going on and be able to communicate really well. And then you're also going to need to build a system in place that other developers that come behind you can understand easily. And those are just things that I don't have to worry about at this point in time for this specific project. So, I've rambled on for a long time on that, so, buyer beware. So basically we have this loader. I don't remember what it is, but it's called a font loader. And we use it we create this promise, Helvetica regular promise, and it loads it, and once it's done loading it, it resolves. The font loader does it. So I think I believe the next one we're going to want to do, and I'm just going to do one this time, is the bold. Helvetiker bold. So let's just kind of blindly, sometimes those things get in the way. Okay, I have an extra. Let's see. I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to, instead of regular, I'm going to make it bold. And I think probably, so how did they do this? Okay, so this word is just bold. I believe this is it. And then I'm going to, for the moment, I'm going to copy this. Something doesn't quite look right about this. I guess it, oh, okay, so for the moment, I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to, and I'm just going to go down here. And then, so it's good that I made it a let. I'm surprised I made it a let. I'm going to say await. I'm just going to do this font await equals await this dot and paste. All right, so now this, semicolon. So now we have our await, and let's see. We use the font. Where do we use this font? I don't know if we even use this font in here anymore. Okay, so do the same thing, and so don't, so it doesn't seem like we even need this anymore. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And cross our fingers that we don't need that. I think we're in the same situation over here because I think it's in this get text geometry that we need it. Just, what did I do? What did you do? Okay, I got rid of too much. Went too far. And then, okay, so I think, yeah, this get text geometry is where we actually use it. Let's see. I think there may be, okay, nope. Okay, that. Okay, that all makes sense. Okay, so this is the only place. So let's see where we use, go back to seeing where we use get text. Okay, and so we do the await there. And this is pretty sweet because that means when they do like a sphere geometry or a box geometry, this won't hold them up. And I think text geometry is going to be rarely used if I'm being completely honest. I'm glad I'm doing it, but I don't think it's going to be used that much. Okay, so here, now let's see if I can, do I still have that? Yeah, okay. And I did make it a const here, so let's change that to a let. So this is not the final code. This is just kind of proof of, that it works. Await. And then this dot. Okay. So now basically we should have bold text now, if it worked. And so we're going to add our mesh. This is just like literally just proof of concept. And text. Yeah, I think that looks bold compared to before. Let's get this more reasonable height. Yeah, that's definitely different. So that is working. So basically, we want to make sure that both of these are available before the before we try to we want them both to be available. So at this point, like it's kind of your choice. It's or my choice. Basically, do I want to go now get the go through and make all these promises for all the different fonts, or do I want to like sort of get everything wired up and get the drop down working and all that? And I think I'm probably going to want to get everything wired up and get the drop down working, and then basically because I could say, yeah, so this is not how the final thing, I mean, we're iterating towards, so I could say bold font, and then I can be like, if it's bold font, then use one font, otherwise, add the drop down. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably get that working that way, and then once I have those things wired up, circle back around and maybe set up the typings so that I can drive a drop down list based on the items there. And once all of that's working, then I will have kind of proven that this scheme that I've cooked up in my head works. And then I can start loading up the other fonts and do like a promise all for that. Promise all is very cool. And basically it's this thing right here. So I can just say that, promise one, like this is promise one, this is promise two, and then I can say promise all, then do this. And I believe this, it's been a little while since I've done it, but I believe that this returns a promise as well. Segment returns a single promise. Yeah. So I'll be able to just I'll do a promise all, do this, and return, I'll say TG is equal to see, what does this return? A promise with the text geometry in it. Yeah, so I think I'll be able to just, I'll have to figure that out. But and values, new text geometry, and then return the text. But it's got this await. So, anyways, yeah, I think I'll end up using this to get it to only create a text when all fonts have been loaded. And like I said, that is absolutely positively not what you would want to do in a professional or in a enterprise environment. I mean, it's professional enough, but it's just like if you're very likely going to need to do something a lot more complex than this because of the nature of static servers and stuff like that. Let's see, what was the time? 15 minutes, not too bad. I didn't get too much done. We basically got the two different promises loaded. Tomorrow I'll get the drop down. Hopefully I'll get the drop down working. Getting it to where there's a drop down that has basically the two types of fonts in it, and then and hopefully that I can get that working tomorrow. It is a little bit more complicated than it sounds like. Basically, I think I need to create a new type that has the promises in them probably, and a name for the drop, to be displayed in the drop down, um, and then in here. And then that will need to be added to the mesh item. So that's gonna be a text that's just limited to the possible values. Anyways, maybe that's probably up. Maybe I'll just get those typings working tomorrow, and I don't know. It's gonna be tricky. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.